if it's just talking about it, like, you know, talking about it during sex or in foreplay, or just like sharing fantasies is a fantastic way to get to know some of the things that your partner wants and likes. And that in itself is really hot to do. Like, it's fun to share fantasies. So those are a couple starting points. I don't know if I like went way too off topic there, but
no, you're good.
those are all
So
things up.
just to bullet point that, you know, becoming more confident with your body so that you are allowing yourself to get out of your own mind and be present and enjoy the moment, because, and finding someone who treats you respectfully and loves your body regardless, because we all know men are only ever thinking of like one thing. Like you said, they're not thinking about if we have a thigh gap or not, or whatever the situation is.
When you say that, don't you feel like ridiculous? Like, I guarantee you there's women that are like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, I've totally felt that way. It does not matter.
Right. Like I mean, after having kids, I have like a mom belly that I hate so much, right? And to me, that's my biggest insecurity is my stomach. So I like to keep a tank top on or lingerie or something that covers that. And I have had, you know, someone I was dating for a while, he would lift my shirt up every time and I would pull it back down, like slowly, and try to be like sly about it until he just looked me dead in the eyes and said, stop doing that. I love your body, and, you know, for anything and everything it is. And he really just stopped me in my tracks. And I was just like, whoa, okay, what's up? But it made all my insecurities go away because he didn't give up. He was like, no, like, accept it. Like, shut your mouth. This is get out of your own head and realize that I am trying to love on your whole body. And I was like, whoa, okay. You know, it was attractive, but you know, that's something that connects you guys, and that it makes you realize that, you know, sex is that thing that it unites two people, and it's so awesome if you're feeling loved and adored in every inch of your body. So yeah, super important. Or like role play, those kind of things. I'll add that in there. I know that one's like, it gets way funny. And it can be, you know, that's embarrassing for me. I think it's hilarious, and it's kind of like a little icebreaker. And it's just fun to try something new, a different little scenario, maybe surprise somebody. And you know what? Guys are all about fantasies because they're very visual. Mm-hmm. And so they tend to be all for it. But okay, so let's tie that into getting in tune and less embarrassed about yourself and self-pleasure. So I know a lot of women who have never even had an orgasm before. And to me, that's just like mind-blowing. Like, oh my gosh, what is sex like for you then? That is insane. Like, that sounds literally so crappy. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah.
But they're too embarrassed to speak up about it or to learn what feels best to them or take control and say, okay, I actually prefer when you do this. You know, it's not just like, you're not forcing someone to do something, but if something doesn't feel good, say it, or say what you prefer so that you're both enjoying it. And it's not just being like, okay, yeah, well, this is what sex is. It's like, holy Moses. No, afterwards you should totally just be out of breath and so, like, it sounds weird, but so like enlightened and just like, yes.
You should be euphoric for sure. And that's so true. And this is a perfect segue into it, because when you don't know how you feel good, what makes you feel good, how is your partner going to know that? We can read somebody else's body, obviously, in a lot of ways when we're having sex. Like, there's definite like, oh, this person's turned on. Okay, this person is not turned on. Like, this person's into it, or you get like, you can feel that connection. But we usually rely solely on that for good sex. We're like, well, there's chemistry. It's all good. Like, why should we talk about it? But that person, I really want to touch on being open to receiving right? Especially women, we have a really hard time just like letting ourselves receive, letting go, allowing ourselves to be open to somebody else and not trying to like take control somehow or be in control.
Well, we
But
don't want to hurt their feelings.
exactly. And so we usually just like, okay, well, I'll just like lay here. So, I'll just lay here. And that seems like a good plan. And that ends up being terrible sex. So toys are a fantastic way to start with this, but letting yourself discover and explore what makes you feel good without the pressure of that being in the bedroom with someone else, really gaining some knowledge about self-pleasure. So using your fingers, using toys, using whatever, like you can read erotica, I think that porn is fine. I don't have a problem with porn as long as it's not like, to a certain extent, it's one of those things that I do think can cause issues, but I don't think it's bad to watch porn. So that's like going to float your boat, like watch some porn, like do something outside of your comfort zone a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit intimidating, but it's safe. It's easy to do alone in your own time and your own space. And really start to think about like, okay, this it's good to feel good. There's nothing shameful about self-pleasure. There's nothing shameful about having sex and about exploring your sexuality. And once you begin to do that, you will have much more of an understanding about what feels good. And you can, a lot of times it's really hot to show the other person too, like, okay, this is what I do. This is how I like to touch myself. And can you imagine if everybody did this? Can you imagine if you had a partner that was like, okay, like this is what I really like. This is how I do this. Like, and gives you feedback in a loving way. They're not giving you constructive criticism. They're
Right.
giving you feedback because you're pleasuring them and they're being receptive to that. If I'm giving to someone, I want them to receive what I'm giving them, and same way. So when someone is giving to us, we have every right to say, oh, you know what, this would be better if you did this, or like, can you touch me this way, and explore that, because that person wants to please you. They want to give you pleasure. So if you don't know how to direct them to do that or communicate that, that's going to really affect your ability to have an orgasm. And then you're going to get stuck in your head and you're going to think something's wrong with you, because sex is just like, okay, but it's not really a big deal because you never have an orgasm. So really, like, take charge of that yourself. It's not up to your partner to give you an orgasm. It's up to you to give yourself an orgasm. You have to stay out of your head, in your body, and own what feels good and be open to exploring new things. Like, you can take baby steps in all sorts of directions, but don't keep yourself boxed in as like there's only one right way to be or one right way to have an orgasm. It's all about exploring that and owning when you find something that resonates with you, owning that.
And I think pride takes over a ton because sometimes we don't want to be told. It's like, if they start to direct us or something, you're like, excuse me, I know what I'm doing here. Thank you. But everybody is different. So what worked with one person might not work with another person. We all have different sensitive spots at times, or some things where it's like, that's not really doing it for me. But if you like it, then kind of whatever, there's got to be that compromise kind of thing. But definitely, or we just don't want to hear, what the other person thinks we're not doing 100% or their right way, because that's hard. If you think this whole time you've been pleasing somebody and they say, actually, it would be great if you did this. You're like, okay, so the past, however long we've been together, this hasn't been enjoyable kind of thing. And women are amazing at faking it. And we'll just kind of, especially if we're tired or we're not interested, we're guilty of just laying there and being like, yeah, totally. Just going with the flow.
Well, I think that's where communication really comes into play, because like there's definitely been times where I'll be like, oh, like if I'm really busy and my partner's really busy and our schedules are opposite, and we're getting like we work together, so I see him all the time, and we're home all the time, but we're definitely in a period of life where we're just like go work, and so it's long days, And it can be hard to like come into the house and be like, oh yeah, like let's have sex tonight. And there's nights where I'm like, oh, I'm really tired. Like I'm just not feeling it. So instead of, if things start and I am like really honestly not feeling it, I will communicate that and be like, hey, like I want to have sex so bad, but I don't feel like we've connected all day. And like, I would rather wait and have like sex in the morning so that we can have, awake sex or like whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm able to communicate that without it being like, I'm just not interested right now. I'm too tired. Like, that's not the point. Like, it's not about like just rejecting someone. It's about communicating with someone where you're at. And every time that I have done that, I have never gotten someone that's like, okay, well, that's fine. No, I get it. Like, I just don't want to have sex. Like, it's like, well, okay, but I'm giving you the reason why. And I'm telling you that I want to have sex when I am awake and I'm like feeling physically really into it. And so like, I would love to wake up and have sex in the morning. And there is something to be said for scheduling and sex sometimes. Like if you are in a relationship where you've got completely opposite schedules and you don't, work at home or get to see each other very often, it's really important to make the priority to have that time where it's like, okay, this is our time. Maybe it's not just sex, like, but if you know that it's coming, you're going to plan for it. It's like when you're dating and you're like, oh my God, I have a date tonight. Like, oh my gosh, I have a date tonight. If you schedule in sex or it's like having that date night, like, oh my God, I'm going to have sex tonight. That's going to be fantastic. That's going to be, your mind's going to be like, you're going to be planning on it. And so I don't think that like I think that it can kill a relationship if you're not having sex because you're busy and you're not into it. Because the longer I go without having sex, if I'm busy and not into it, the harder it is for me to in the moment get back into it. It's like, I won't even think about it. Like, I'll just all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, okay, well now I'm so focused on work and like, that's where my brain's at. And I'm not connected to my body. I'm not feeling sexual, but I'm all in my head, all in a work zone. So if, he like gives me a little bit of a back rub or like start slowly, there's something to be said for like easing into that space with someone else. And as a woman, allowing yourself to go there, not being like, I said I wasn't interested, but being like, oh, okay, like, wait, no, that feels good. And allowing it to go from there. You don't have to always be ready for sex, and you don't always have to be like ready to go. It takes time to get there. But as far as like for a woman, there's something to be said for teasing a woman and touching her everywhere that isn't sensitive, like touching her belly, touching her back, touching the thighs. Like those are areas that I think kind of give us even more sensitivity by being stimulated when we're in a sexual situation than just going like straight for the clit. Like there's gotta be like some like easing into it. And so this thing, like, give yourself permission to feel your body and love all of your body, not just, your sex organs. Like, but yeah, like if you have a hard time with your stomach, be like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to like really feel my stomach and I'm going to send my stomach some love and like honor this beautiful like powerhouse that is my core. Like it's all in perspective. And the more that you work on that, the more and more confident you get. And the more that you're going to want to communicate these things with your partners, whether you're in a relationship or you've got, different partners, you're single, you're dating, whatever. Like this is your journey, and it's important to own that, because if you're not owning that, then all of your relationships, all the sex you have isn't going to be great. You have to you have to take that first step. It's not going to just happen on its own.
Well, and if you're not comfortable with like verbally telling your partner what you like and don't like, there's simple things like just moving their hand to an area that you like, or more moaning when they're in the right spot, that kind of thing, because they're responsive to those things, right? Yeah. So if you're too uncomfortable with bringing that up verbally, there's other ways like that. So then India, tell us, how do we have the stronger pelvic floor? And why does that lead to better orgasms? Because I learned when I went to a work retreat a while ago, everyone there was like, total body guru, yoga, like all in touch with themselves and talking about like, meditating with yoni eggs and stuff like, sorry, and stuff like that to help improve your Kegels and tighten things up. And I was like, what the freaking heck?